They say he's the king of the hangout movie. In his review of Linklater Slacker, Roger Ebert says, "We don't get a story, but we do get a feeling." Linklater's films are not overly concerned with plot.
Filmmaking for me isn't that. I mean, there's different kind of filmmakers, certain ones that age 8 have their Super 8 cameras and are blowing up their trains and their cars, but I was never like that. For me, it's just about people, stories.
He makes the kinds of movies where characters get a moment to breathe, to talk, and to philosophize. For the most part, his movies are about those little moments in life that often go overlooked. He can do all-ages comedies like School of Rock, he can do a 70s teen movie, he can do a brutally honest romance, he can do experimental animation. Linklater's filmmaking style seems diverse, even eclectic upon first glance. So what are they about? Does Linklater have a central meaning to his filmography? Is there any thematic connection between a film like Slacker and Me and Orson Welles? Actually, yes. Richard Linklater's movies are all about community. Okay, granted, Linklater's movies are about a little bit more than just community. Their stories and styles vary. But if we back up in his career, I think community plays a significant part in everything he's worked on in his life.
I mean, we're not churning out a product for local consumption necessarily. That's why it's very important that exists, that there is that community.
In his 20s, when he realized he wanted to be a filmmaker, young Ricky Link moved to Austin, Texas. When it was hard to find screenings of lesser-known classic films in his area, and because he didn't have an internet to complain on, he decided to solve the problem. In 1985, Linklater and a cohort of film fans founded the Austin Film Society, planting a flag in the Texas film community that stands tall to this day.
It was just way too radical and way beyond anything they were doing.
When he set out to become a filmmaker, his goals weren't just to network and indulge in his own creativity. He set out to build a community that he continues to maintain. Linklater is a pillar of the Austin art scene, doing his part to keep the city weird. The AFS started out as a fundraising effort to bring prints of lesser-known art films to Austin theaters, but throughout the years, the AFS has grown to host premieres for blockbuster directors and to even build their own film studio in Austin. In any way possible, Linklater brings his success back to the community in which he started. Looking at his films through the lens of what he values brings a new light to the connective tissue between each of his feature film endeavors. Just like his AFS endeavors, Richard Linklater's movies are all about community. His first major release, Slacker, is far from traditional in its story and scope. It has no main characters, it has no real plot. Slacker is essentially a stroll through the hippie weirdness and eccentricities of the population of Austin, Texas during the early 1990s. The film sails almost surrealistically from conversation to conversation, constantly switching gears. Though it may sound unfocused, Slacker paints a beautifully vivid picture of a very specific time and place in Linklater's life. A community of weirdos.
But it's a Madonna pap smear. It's got Ciccone on the top. That's like, like a medical label, Ciccone. Check it out.
Dazed and Confused is similar in its scope, though on a significantly bigger budget. The Last Day of School in Texas, 1976. It's about a community of youth at various stages of teenagehood. While there's tons of conflict and drama, they all share the same desire. They all want to know that they tried their best to have a good time.
Okay.
Before Sunrise, though it features only 2 leads, is just as much about community as Linklater's ensemble films. 2 kids in their 20s wander through a community that they're both unfamiliar with and find each other. Catching up almost a decade later in Before Sunset, the 2 are deeply disappointed by the communities they've spent their time in. The tension stems from their decision to take a chance and leave the lives they've built so far. Finally, the third in the trilogy is about the community that Jesse and Celine have built together, their family and their friends. It's about the weight of the family on their relationship. The trilogy is about a community of 2, and the love between them making it feel like they're the only ones in the world.
I mean, that's very nice and all, but I hope you don't take that any more seriously than some horoscope in a daily syndicated newspaper.
The Newton Boys, Linklater's lesser-known bank heist piece, is about the community of brotherhood at its core, about the desperation that poverty brings their community. As an aside, The Newton Boys is an underrated gem, and if only because it's magical to see young Ethan Hawke, McConaughey, and D'Onofrio play off of each other. Waking Life is super weird, and it's about a community of dreams, the community of the collective unconscious. School of Rock, about an uptight community that needs to let loose. A Scanner Darkly, about a community under surveillance and the ensuing paranoia. Me and Orson Welles is about the magic of the theater community. Bernie is about the pillar of a community, doing one of the most horrible things imaginable after being pushed too far. Where Do You Go, Bernadette is about an eccentric woman turning her back on her arts community and eventually her family to find her true purpose. Boyhood is about the community it takes to raise a child and their expectations on that kid. I was 16 when Boyhood came out. I didn't like it. I thought that Mason lacked any discernible character. Where's the character arc? What did he learn? Having rewatched Boyhood again recently, I think I was watching it wrong. As a culture, I think our view on art and film in particular is heavily focused on seeing a clear structure. We've been taught to look for very specific beats to interpret the drama on screen. I don't think that's the best way to look at most of Linklater's movies. Rewatching Boyhood again this year, I realized that this isn't a movie that's just about watching someone change. It's about the various influences in life during a very specific moment of development. It's about who you're surrounded with as you develop. It's about your community. To me, that's the best way to absorb Linklater's work. He was a community organizer first and foremost, and that's exactly what his movies are all about. It takes a common goal and a massive team of people striving to meet that goal just to get a single take of a film. Film is art, but it's also community organizing. It's also something that I think a lot of us are sorely missing right now. Maybe it's just pandemic feels, but I can't help but see what a massive miracle of a group effort every single movie is. I love to look at Richard Linklater's films as a reflection of that. They're not about plot or a clean character arc. They're about the people we share life moments with. Just like film, you can't get through life without your community. Well, you can, but it's going to be a hell of a lot harder without any help. Now, I want to hear from you. What is your favorite Richard Linklater movie? And what do you think it's all about? Let me know in the comments down below and let's talk about it. Also, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on Linklater's movies, don't miss the Greg and Matt Movie Chat. It's a podcast, it's down in the description. Me and my good friend Matt talk about every single movie that Richard Linklater's ever directed. Thanks for watching all the way through this. That's all I got.